The more you build, the more you battle. The more you build, the more you battle. And finally, you get to a place where the folks who were fighting you will change their mind, and the wicked shall cease from troubling, and the weary shall be at rest.
T.D. Jakes, the megachurch pastor, author, and filmmaker, is now launching a new talk show on Oprah Winfrey's own network. I talked to him about his plans for the new show and his career. What kind of guests will you have, and what are the issues you'll be dealing with?
We're going to be dealing with a plethora of issues. We're going to deal with largely ordinary people. There will be some celebrities and some high profile scattered in the mix as well. But we're going to be taking on things like human trafficking. We did a show on house husbands. We did a show on domestic violence. We're doing a lot of conflict resolution with families. I'm doing what I've been doing for 40 years, but I'm doing it on television as it relates to counseling and working with families going through crisis. And then from time to time, we're also going to have some celebrities as well. I think that you see the best in him, but you don't see the best in you. You can teach other people how to love you by how you love yourself.
But you actually tried to do this in 2009, right? And it didn't work out. What did you learn from that experience? You
know, I had several steps along the way. First of all, I was a guest on Dr. Phil repeatedly over and over again, and we talked about doing something mutually, but at the time, the market wasn't right, and the conditions and the unions and all of that were blocking us.
Syndicated television.
Yeah, syndicated television, so we couldn't do it at that time. So that when you give yourself to somebody or you present yourself to somebody, you are sure of who you are, and you know that you are a unique gift and an asset to them.
Man, can I get an amen? Yeah. Thank you so much.
I've appeared on Oprah's show over and over again, so I kind of got my feet wet. I did a weekly show for one season with BET, but it was at 11 o'clock on Sunday mornings, and my audience is in church on Sunday mornings. So finally, somebody came along and offered me a daily show that would give me an opportunity to reach a segment that I think is underserved with daytime television. I want to give them another option of another type of television show that they might be able to watch.
Right, and this show has been acquired by the OWN network.
Yes, it has been acquired by the OWN network, and it's going to air across the country on the OWN at 6 o'clock p.m., and it's going to start September the 19th. September the 12th, we will be on local networks across the country through Tegna. Their affiliated stations, as well as some outside of the Tegna family, have also signed up to take the show. So it's off to a good start.
What's it like to work with Oprah Winfrey?
You know what? It was really amazing. She assigned the production team over to me and pretty much let me do whatever I wanted to do with them, which was really shocking because most people don't let go or relinquish control like that. She expressed a lot of faith in the direction I was going. She studied me out thoroughly. We had known each other for some time, and so it wasn't like we were absolutely strangers. She's creative, she's intuitive, she's very, very supportive. She texted me the other day after my service and gave me an idea of doing a different variation of social media for my church service. I mean, she's creative. She's always not just bettering herself, but thinking of ways that she can better other people and inspire other people.
She discovered and nurtured a lot of talent over the years, from Dr. Phil to Dr. Oz, but actually you probably came into this process with a much larger TV presence than they had when they started.
Yeah,
Do you expect that your church audience to help translate into higher ratings for this show?
I would think so. We've got a huge audience, millions and millions of people who follow us on social media. Some of them are church people, some of them are not. Some of them are entrepreneurs. People follow me for different reasons. Some of them follow me because I love dogs and they share their pets. But I want to bring all of them to the process. And then I want to be clear, when you start looking at Dr. Oz and you start looking at Dr. Phil, they were produced in part by Harpo. See, I'm not produced by Harpo at all, so I'm actually outside of the Oprah family, but was able to be adopted in with the program that she thought fit the motif of what OWN would like to have.
Right, because you are the lead producer or a producer of the show.
Absolutely.
So you have total and complete creative control. Some people know you as a man of the cloth. Will there be a faith underpinning of this show, or are you really trying to just keep it really pure and mainstream?
They know me as a man of the cloth, but the odd thing about it is people who go to church every Sunday work in the secular world every Monday. And it doesn't desecrate their faith, and they know how to compartmentalize in whom they have believed from what they have been assigned to do. With that same dexterity, I am a person of faith, and when I sit down, all of that sits down at the table with me. But this is not an opportunity to proselytize other people as much as it is to try to uplift people. And where it's appropriate, Tegna and I have agreed that I don't have to be obscure about my faith, no more than anybody else is about who they are. I don't have to be ashamed of who I am, or I wouldn't have done the deal.
Yeah.
And she's saying to you that her faith connected her in such a way and brought about healing. By the same token, this is not TBN. This is not a faith-based show.
Right.
We want to deal with all aspects of human experience.
Okay. Earlier in your ministry, you were doing a lot of the talking with abused women and ministering to them. You told them to use their pain as fuel for a new beginning. What do you mean by that? Because a lot of the people are going to be coming onto this show with these complex problems.
You know, the most powerful people I have ever met in all of my life have a backstory of some level of pain that catapulted them to have the greater intensity to lunge forward. If you think of a bow and arrow, it is to the degree that it is pulled back that it shoots forward. And generally against oppression and opposition, people who have been ridiculed or been ostracized or alienated, they use that as fuel. You can either use it to frustrate your destiny or to fuel your destiny. And my first book was written to women who had been through scars and dysfunction. It was called Women Aren't Loose. Had no idea it was going to blow up and sell millions and millions of copies. Self-published it, emptied out my bank account to do it. Nobody believed in it but me, and I drugged my wife into it. But we got into it, and it was amazing that there was a demand and a need for that sort of thing.
Okay, and you never seem to know that you're going to be successful, but somehow you're successful a lot of the time.
You know what's really funny about that sort of thing? We were talking the other day about the guy who wrote Be Happy. And one of the things I heard him say in an interview that really touched me, he said, I didn't know it was going to explode like that. If you do what you were created to do without doing things for profit, you do things for purpose. And if it hits, it hits. You never know. The public determines the response. You want to make sure that you put out a quality product, which is what we've done with the talk show, and we offer it as an option, and it's up to the people.
I'm going to bring in one of the Facebook questions I had here because you talk about prophets. And there's so many people who see being a man of faith and making a prophet as incompatible concepts. So here's one question. This is from Franklin Farrar. Recently, there's been media coverage regarding mega churches and their pastors and ministers and all the millions they make off poor people around the world and even in their own congregations. How do they justify having and owning multi-estates, cars, planes, property and automobiles? What purpose does it serve to them on earth? Because God said that we all would receive our riches in heaven, not on earth. And this isn't the first time you've heard that question.
Well, he would really need to ask somebody who's one-dimensional. I don't think it's fair to ask me that. I've produced about 9 or 10 movies. I've had all kinds of books that I've done down through the years. I could walk away from my church today and never have to sell my house. So I don't have to live off the backs of my church necessarily. To those mega church pastors who do, each of them are different. Some of them have other resources through which they draw resources. Some of them do not. And he'd have to direct that question to them. It is not the acquisition of wealth that is the issue. It is how it is distributed and how it is used that is very, very important, not only for people of faith or anyone else. We have to ask ourselves this question. If it is okay for the children of this world or secular people to have resources, why should I be discriminated against because I am a Christian or because I am a preacher or because I am anything else, black or anything else? Discrimination is discrimination. And if you're going to crowd against it on one form, you have to crowd against it on all forms. What we do have to be careful about is gimmicks, tricks, and scams where people are using religion as a front just for profit rather than purpose. And there are people out there who do that, like there are doctors who are not credible, there are teachers who are not credible, but the fact that those exist should not negate the fact that we go to the doctor when we need to and we go to school when we need to. The fact that there are imposters is only an indication you have to be there has to be a real thing in order for you to be a copy.
This nation, to me, is at a critical juncture right now with race issues, immigration in the wake of the upcoming election. What is happening in America right now, and what will it take for us to come out a better nation?
You know, I have a different point of view than most people. I am glad we're having the conversation. The fact that we weren't talking about it didn't mean that it didn't exist. It has come center stage because everybody who's got a cell phone has become a reporter. And now things that had been masked are being uncovered. And I think we need to talk about it. And we're not good at talking about it, but we definitely need to talk about it, because racism continues to be an issue. But the underbelly really exists in systemic racism. It's not the goal should not be to change everyone's heart, because that's impossible. Only God can do that. The goal should be to change the policies and systems that are skewed against underserved people, to make sure that they have equal opportunities and equal access for the acquisition of wealth, for the building of families, for the betterment of humanity. Because until we all win, no one is really winning.
Okay. Do people know what you went through? Because in the beginning, how many people were in your church?
Oh, 7.
7 people.
7 people. Yeah, 7 people for a long time. And I struggled. And in the beginning of my ministry and in the early stages of my marriage, I worked a job. I've always worked more than one job, whether people knew it or not. My for-profit company is older than the Potter's House. It's not like I started T.D. Jakes Enterprises, birthed out of the church. It's probably more the other way around. But years ago, let's go back further than that, I worked for Union Carbide and got off work to do funerals and revivals and had to take vacation, then got laid off, had no lights on, had no water on, had my car repossessed. And that's what makes the talk show interesting, because I can relate to the down and out. I can relate to the person on WIC. When my wife was pregnant with my daughter, we were on WIC. So I can relate to the person in the hood, and yet I know what it is to stay in a penthouse suite. So I have a pretty wide range of experiences to bring to the table that will make me congruent and able to discuss with a lot of people what it is like to be them.
One final question. I read that you took care of your father when you were a boy.
Yes.
How did that affect you?
Oh, huge ways.
And how did that inform you?
My father got sick when I was 10. He died when I was 16. And there is nothing that makes life more precious than to be raised by somebody who is dying. Because it made me aggressive, it made me not waste time, it made me focus. I was born in between 2 dead babies. My mother had a stillborn before me, and then my little sister was born dead after me. And in between 2 dead babies and a dying father, I emerged. Out of all of that death, it makes you appreciate every day and every moment of your life. It makes you not want to pilfer your life away, worrying about what people think or worrying about your insecurities. It will make you maximize your life, and it definitely affected me. My father dying while I was in adolescence affected me in huge ways. We'd have to do another show to explain them all. But that goes back to what you asked me at first. It is always what pulls you back that determines how fast you propel forward. If you've never had any pain, you don't have any power.